Um, sure. Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's universe? How has your week been? Hello to Ish and hello to Bri F. How you doing? How's things? What has everybody been up to? I have been rather busy being myself. Trying to get my open source latency tool, the new one, up and running, and reviewing a device that you actually won't see until next Friday. But oh, it's a doozy. Oh boy, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble. Um, and it's on dark this week. I bought some new T-shirts, and they actually fit me. I have the new white one as well. But see, it's long, so I actually fit. It's amazing! You can do this! You can buy T-shirts! Who knew? Another TTGB rant, bad product, or bad service, bad company. Technically it's a product and service, but the company that provides a product isn't the same company that provides the services. I would say it's a handheld gaming base. And it's not from Asus or Valve. Just jets, what about planes? I like planes, yeah. My knowledge of planes, etc., is significantly lower than my knowledge about cars, which is also probably lower than my knowledge about tech. So it's a kind of staircasing of my ability to talk about tech is quite considerable. My ability to talk about cars is also pretty decent. My ability to talk about planes is kind of nerding out on a less than enthusiast kind of place. So do with that information what you will. Hello, Essentialist. It's been a while. How you doing, man? My 6650 XT keeps crashing. In a few games, AMD driver issue or bad games. Probably about both. Are there any settings you can change to tweak it to give you a little bit of a different experience? Either in-game or in AMD driver. You know, stuff like windowed full screen versus exclusive full screen. Turned off the on-screen overlay and it seems to fix it in a few games. Okay, fair. That sounds kind of like a driver issue then. How have you been? It's been a while. What have you been up to? We missed you on the Discord. It's just been Luca going mad about random shit he's buying. Just been moving. Fair play. Thank you very much, Ish, for the link to pick up some fancy shiny. Well, it's not shiny; it's matte, so it's the opposite of shiny. Merchandise. I've thought about doing like. There's a few companies that are like super local to me that will even do like embroidered T-shirts and things, which is really cool, and I really like that. But at the same time, the idea of me selling merchandise, you know, like what I'm wearing, like I think it's. I'm glad that I have it because for me it brings a little bit of professionalism to videos, especially when I'm otherwise just wearing like, you know, brand like super dry or Hollister or whatever t-shirts that I got for Christmas 10 years ago. So, you know, having something that's like my own brand, as it were, is you know, a nice little bit of professionalism to an otherwise kind of bland, you know, face. But at the same time, I prefer, like, if I'm gonna sell stuff, like physical products to people, stuff like my open source latency and response time tools, I feel like these are a much better way to make loud noises. I'm sorry. Linus drop tips, anybody? I feel like this is a very good way to make something with sort of intrinsic value more than just supporting me. Like, I mean, if you want to buy the stuff, it is nice enough stuff. I literally wear it, but at the same time, it's a you know, this has value more than t-shirts do. But yeah. Also, progress update on this. I've finally got the version 5 boards in, and these are now pretty much ready. I might need to take that capacitor off for some more testing, and as you can see, I'm still fine-tuning the which finger is it? This one. Fine-tuning some resistor values for the audio side, but yeah, and also it's still single-sided. Yeah. I think I've got the branding on point now, you know. So yeah. Hello to Simon, hello to Zig, hello to Alex, and hello to Ryzen. OSLTT, yeah, well, I could have named it OSLT, like open source latency tool, but that would really annoy me because I sell an open source response time tool, OSRTT. So this is the open source latency testing tool, aka OSLTT. I know that that technically has some similar names to another YouTube channel that you're probably familiar with, but it would annoy me too much to not call OSLTT. Also, so I'm planning on, as part of the, like, if you buy an open source response time tool, or OSRTT, you have the option of me including a 5-meter USB cable in the box with it, so that it's, like, you know, a straight ready to go thing. But if you already have some USB cables, whatever, you can save a $5 and, you know, whatever. I'm planning on doing some similar options with the latency tool, so obviously USB cable, yes, but also because it has a microphone input, I'm planning on selling it with some microphones, just little lav mics that have the right pin out and, you know, work fine. And so I 3D printed this little, this is only the top of it, but just a little bracket. And I did this, like, I just got my calipers out, measured the distances, drew it up in Fusion 360, and oh, I'm so happy. So it's a little hole in the front, and then a little clasp in the back. And so you put the microphone, like, front end in, and then it just, like, I just guessed how much overlap there needed to be. And again, the rest of this, there's going to be a 45-degree angle and then a little plinth. So when you want to, like, test a mouse, the little plinth or whatever can sit under the mouse, so that the microphone is right next to the click, so that, where's my mouse? So that when it, you know, it'll hear that nice and clearly, and you won't get false positives as easily. So yeah. Did you print a logo on the OSLTT? No. Well, so OSLTT does have the name in the case design, in the same way that this is where the sensor is on the bottom side, so that when you go to, like, put this on a display, you can actually see where the sensor is, which is really easy for you know, for aligning that on the crosshair on screen or whatever. It's kind of useful. I like my TechteamGB Teespring stuff, and I use them more than I would either tool. even though they mean less dev monies. I mean, that's fair. Obviously, it depends on who's buying, right? But yeah, I didn't feel like going to the effort of like making t-shirts, you know, like really nice embroidered t-shirts, whatever, and then like me hand packing and shipping them, all, you know, just to sell a t-shirt. Like, it's cool, but at the same time, I don't think that's worth the the investment, as it were. Vauxhall Astra now has a Peugeot engine. Do you think that's good or bad compared to the original Opel engines? Almost all bad. No, I mean it depends. I mean, so Vauxhall was bought. Vauxhall Opel, who were owned by GM for a long time, were then bought by PSA in 2016, and then PSA merged with Fiat Chrysler to make Stellantis in something like 2019, 2020, maybe. Yeah. So they're kind of all one big family, which is weird because Ferrari is now owned by the same company that owns Vauxhall. Doesn't seem right, does it? And Peugeot and Citroen. Well, like European, I guess, but anyway, yeah, it kind of depends. Depends on the engine. What about a water bottle? I don't think I could compete on that front, I'm afraid. How about a polo shirt? I'm not a fan of t-shirts. If they had that option, I would very much like to have one as well. I think if I was gonna get an embroidered one, it would be a polo shirt. So yes, but also, well, as it says, you're in the tech business, not the haberdashery one. Also true. My Citroen is related to Ferrari, so it's basically a baby Ferrari. That's what they said about the Toyota MR2. TechteamGB car brand. One day, maybe. I don't know. I am mad enough to do that if I had enough capital. But hello, how you doing? Just mid-installing Proxmox and accidentally requested a manual reset. So thanks, random German bloke who just shut down my server mid-install. GG. Hello Simon, I'm lucky. I have a 2013 308 SW 1.6 blue HDI with 150k miles in it solid. Killed my 2013 Zafira Tourer engine in 2 years. I mean, how the hell do you have 150,000 miles on a 2015 car? You drive, you know, all the way to France and then all the way back again, like, every day? Hello, Commander Classified. How you doing? It was a company car motorway miles. Fair play. Cecil, hello. I'm not sure that's how this format really works, but okay. I don't have one, so it's hard to give you, you know, much more than what you already know. I suppose if you're interested in my opinion, it certainly looks cool. The price at, like, what was it, 700? Makes a decent amount of sense for the hardware. I think the notion that they're gonna instantly sell out is probably not wrong, somewhat sadly. But at the same time, I'm not entirely sure that it is the, like, you know, the Steam Deck killer, as it were. They all, one, they can all coexist, which is a good thing, and two, I'm a little concerned about battery life, because that's something that I don't remember Lions talking about in his review. I think he, like, briefly mentioned that if you set it to all the high settings, you're not going to be gaming for very long, but without giving a specific figure for that, that's kind of a giveaway that it was really, really short. There's also the sort of community aspect, there's also the repairability aspect, which is a huge thing about why the Steam Deck is so cool. Obviously, the fact that it runs Windows is arguably a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing for compatibility, because as long as a game runs on PC, it runs on the Ally. You don't need to worry about compatibility, Proton, that sort of translation support, whatever. And so that is going to be an advantage, but at the same time, there's also a good chance that the performance overhead isn't as good. And then I think, especially on the battery life front, one of the things is that on the Steam Deck, when you actually start using it, you realize that the performance doesn't matter that much. Like, sure, it'd be nice if it was 120 hertz and it was running 120 FPS all the time, whatever. But it's a handheld console. And one of the things, I did a video on why setting your screen refresh rate or your FPS limit to 40 FPS and your refresh rate to 40 hertz, why that's such a big deal is that it extends your battery life a decent amount. You don't really notice the difference in the grand scheme of things, and that's something that, especially thanks to the performance tuning that Valve will have done on the custom chip that they used versus what Asus will do with the non-custom Ryzen Z1 Extreme that's in the Ally. I think that, as I think Len showed in the video, the lower the TDP, the Steam Deck's actually faster. And obviously when you raise the TDP, especially in plugged-in mode, like the 30-watt TDP, and the thing absolutely rips. But that's also double or triple the Steam Deck's TDP, and therefore double or triple the Steam Deck's power consumption, not including the screen. So yeah, I'll have to have one in, hopefully from Asus at some point, to be able to actually test it and compare to my Steam Deck. But until I have one in, or we find out a lot more about it, whatever, it's going to be difficult for me to give much more information. No worries, Commander Classified. Welcome, and hope you're doing alright. Hello, John. How you doing, man? How's things? Also, can't join us either. 4080 or 1700 XT or XTX, which do you think is the best choice? So I've had none of those cards in. So my advice would be limited. From what I've generally seen, I think especially if you can afford the XTX, I don't know what the pricing variance is, that would be the better card, I think. There's obviously the potential question of AMD's driver support and stability, also any productivity use. But if you're purely going on gaming performance, then I think, obviously the XTX would be, that, but the between 4080 and 7900 XT, you'd have to look up the benchmarks to see which one's faster. Arguably, NVIDIA might have better support for, in theory, driver support, but also things like, obviously, ray tracing, DLSS, and even stupid stuff like if you want to do machine learning, like if you want to run AI stuff at home, CUDA and the tensor cores and that sort of stuff will be better. Although if you can afford the XTX, the higher amount of VRAM is way more important than the outright support. So do with that what you will. What's your opinion on the 4060? As in the 4060 Ti? I think it might be the most awful NVIDIA launch in years. So I was offered one from Asus. I still don't have one. So that's how well the launch is going. But yeah, I'm not sure. I actually haven't seen the specs or whatever. But yeah. Hello, Luca. How you doing, man? How's things? Sasso, would love to see your video about it. When I can get my hands on one, I you will. Although so it's next Friday. I have a video on a different handheld gaming console. That I'm gonna get in trouble for. Oh, fuck. I don't do it intentionally. It's just a bad product. Oh dear. Emulating the new Zelda on my deck. I actually saw a Reddit post about it was on Yuzu, the Yuzu subreddit, and people emulating the new Zelda already, which is amazing. But yeah, nice. By that logic, the Hyundai Coupe from 1997 is a Porsche because they helped design it. Yes, I did own one. Fun car. Do you know, actually, the Hyundai Coupe was... I was either, like, when I... Right. I'm going to start that sentence again and try and actually finish it. My first car was a 2006 Renault Clio, the Mark II, not the Mark III, although they were basically the same thing. It was the 8-valve, and amazingly, despite only having like 30,000 miles, the head gasket blew because it wasn't a multi-layer steel. It was like cork. So yeah, that happened. I had to get the engine rebuilt, well, the top end rebuilt, and one of the conrods was bent. So that was good, and not that long after I sold it, and I knew that I needed a slightly bigger car with a better engine, more power, more comfortable for longer distances, whatever. A bigger boy car. So I was either going to get a Hyundai Coupe or a Volvo S40. Now I ended up with a Volvo because I couldn't find an S40, and more importantly, I couldn't get insurance on on the Hyundai Coupe, but I could on the Volvo, so that's what I ended up with. But I did have a look around for one of that sort of rough vintage. It might have been the Mark II or whatever, but yeah, I did try. 4080 versus 4070 Ti, is that really that noticeable of a difference? Well, it's something like well over 10%, possibly 20% fewer cores, so therefore less performance. 12 gig of VRAM is also a pretty big decline these days. Especially if you're playing at like 1440p or especially at 4K. Yes, basically, is the short answer. Is that a Fantex case I see? Oh, it's the Evolve X. It's normally up there, but I was setting something up there. So it went down there for a bit, and I haven't bothered to put it back up there. Although I'm going to put it back up there and put... either a 2080 Ti or actually probably the 2080 Ti, because that has 16 gig of VRAM and it's NVIDIA, and I'm going to be setting up a text generation AI at home. Ideally, I'd have a card with 24 gig of VRAM because that's what's needed for the Vicuna 13B, 13 billion node set, but I'll settle for Vicuna 7B or 7 billion. Which technically can run on an 8 gig card, but if I have 16, I may as well. Is the 3090 worth to buy in place of a 4070? Oh, good question. So first of all, is there... Wait, Please hold while I check my failing memory. There is a 4070, okay. Wow, my memory's bad. So the thing is that the 3090 has 24 gig of VRAM, right? So that's actually going to be a pretty big benefit. Again, like I said, especially at 1440p or 4K. So while the performance, actually, I mean, for the 3090, I want to say was like 4070 Ti performance. So doubly so, yes. If you can get a 3090 for 4070 price, then I would say yes, go for it. No worries, Alex. Happy to help you spend more money. The new 4060 Ti has shading unit, I guess fewer shading units than the 3060 Ti, and has less tensor cores. Impressive. Impressive, NVIDIA. Nice. Playing AMD on that one. The 6500 XT? I think so. I think that's the card I'm thinking of. Feels like a clocked up 3060 Ti as the clocks are way higher. I mean, that kind of sounds about right, yeah. Like, I assume it is the new architecture, but still. Is it true that it's possible to turn on ray tracing, for example, on a GTX 1080 Ti? In the spirit of the question, the answer is no. Being autistically technical, technically yes, you can probably enable ray tracing on like any card you would want. The problem is that the act of turning it on is different from it works well. Because even enabling ray tracing on like the 20 series is kind of naff. Whereas, you know, 13 is like 1340 series much better. The main thing is that ray tracing is a quite a computationally intensive task. There's a reason why for the majority of, you know, gaming history we've not bothered to do ray tracing, like actual real-time lighting, because it is a relatively computationally intensive task, and so that is the trade-off there. There's the reason why the NVIDIA cards have like dedicated hardware to do those calculations as efficiently as possible, and just more cores, like more compute units to be able to go and compute that stuff while the rest of the graphics card renders the rest of the frame. So yes, I'm sure you can probably enable ray tracing on a 1080 Ti, but it's going to be terrible because the graphics card will not be able to do that quickly. Can one just not ray trace and use good textures? Yes. There's obviously, like, it depends on the implementation of the ray tracing. If it's just things like shadows, what's the other one? Like screen space reflections, it's fine. Like, it's cool, but it's not necessary. But like direct reflections and like whatever can be more visible. But like realistically, yeah, just turning the textures up basically, and the other post-processing effects and stuff, that's arguably more of an image impact than straight ray tracing is. Hello Joe, how you doing, man? How's things? currently at work, sat in the exam room, so can't stick around. Fair play, everybody's at work tonight. Go for the 4070, order the 3090, as it has better cores, so it'll be better than the 3090. Also, DLSS 3 will not work on the older cards. Right, but it also only has 12 gig of VRAM instead of 24. And I'm pretty sure that the 4090 is still, at least currently anyway, faster than the 4070. Was good back in the day when you could reflash the 290 into the 290X. There was a lot of that sort of stuff in that sort of time. The AMD Phenom X3. So back before AMD, definitely before Ryzen, and before their FX series, the 8120, the 350. I don't remember the 82 series, but I know there was 3 generations. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. Before all of those, there was the Phenom line. And the Phenom chips, they had the, I think it was like X3, X4, and X6. And basically the X3 and some of the X4s were just X6s that had failed cores. And basically there was a bit of a hack where some motherboard BIOSes, if you bought the X3 and they hadn't laser cut the dead dies, you could enable the cores in the BIOS. You could re-enable them, and so you could buy a Phenom X3 and get a Phenom X6, right, for like half the price or whatever it was. That sort of like little bit of intrigue, that little bit of, oh, I could like beat the system a little, is like magical. But sadly, they've kind of locked that down, so no more. I think the AMD and Asus made a handheld, and now Intel and Gigabyte need to make one. I mean, I feel like MSI is probably more equipped to make a handheld rather than Gigabyte. I mean, I suppose they both do have laptop division, so maybe not, but it'd be cool to see. I think the what do you call it? Brains gone blank. Intel making that sort of embedded chip, or it's not necessarily embedded, but like low power, is probably not their strong suit right now. And also the graphics department, while like the integrated, like the iGPUs on Intel chips have definitely come a long way, AMD definitely still has the advantage there for sure. Gigabyte is also having the same fire issues as Asus. Yeah. Do NVIDIA cards support FSR? And yes, basically. FSR is open source. A lot of what AMD is doing with the whole Fidelity FX pack, with OCAT, with a lot of their stuff, it's all open source, which is really cool. I love open source. So much that I made 3 hardware tools that are open source. That was a really shit demonstration, I'm sorry. But yeah, so the fact that it's open source means that it's pretty easy for developers to implement. They don't need to like go through the secret back channels and like pay NVIDIA money or whatever. Not saying that they necessarily need to do that, but you know, it's more complicated and less free and open, because you can't just go and talk about, oh, how did you like go and GitHub issues or whatever and talk about how did you implement this, how did you know make this shader call work or whatever. I don't know. So yeah. Shame cars aren't like computers. I could flash my VW Golf to a Ferrari. Well, I mean, cars are like computers because they are computers, but also they are flashable. Like my S4, a single remap, like a single flash, gives me 90 horsepower. And if I change the supercharger pulley and then I reflash it again, that gives me another like 50. Oh yeah, not bad. It doesn't mean you can't give Andy a bunch of money. I wouldn't stop you. Although it depends on what Actually, I realised I would stop you depending on what the conditions of the money were. The computer in the car is literally the weakest link. Well, in my experience in fixing cars, failed computers have summed up to a total of 0 of the problems I've had to fix. It's almost always the mechanical bits. But yeah. I did have one issue on my Volvo S40 actually. It was a weird thing where basically, so that almost all cars have an electronic throttle body, so they have a stepper motor that controls the flap that opens, that lets the air in the engine. And my Volvo obviously had one, but it had this weird issue where once it gets to a sort of certain age, certain number of heat cycles, whatever, it has this really weird failure pattern where, especially if you're asking, you ask for a lot of throttle, like you're, gonna pull away or whatever, quickly, the throttle freaks out for like just long enough, like 10 milliseconds, which is just long enough for it to freak the ECU into going into limp mode, but then the second that you lift off, it fixes itself. It comes out of limp mode. You don't even have to key cycle it. It just works fine. But it would be really annoying because it would cut power for a second right as you're trying to take off, whatever. So that was annoying. I replaced the throttle pedal first because guidance said that was what might be it. And then I swapped the throttle body for a used one I got on eBay for like 20 quid, and that fixed it. So, yeah. Remapping is what killed my Zafira Tourer. Ended up spewing black smoke. Yeah, even at idle was fun for a few weeks. Then I got rid of it. Fair. I mean, the thing with car modifications is that they you often do have to do quite a lot of supporting mods to ensure the reliability. With mine, the stage 1 remap or whatever, is that the story goes that the supercharged V6 that's in that, just like they tuned it, at standard boost level, and it was too close to, or actually better than the RS4, which is a naturally aspirated V8 in that generation, but so they detuned it from factory, and so the story goes that the stage 1 tune is just shut the wastegate, or the bypass valve fully, and then you get 420 horsepower instead of 340, or 333. But when you then want to start swapping the supercharger pulley for more boost to get to 480, you then need to upgrade the water to air intercooler on the front. It's recommended that you replace the throttle body because it's smaller than the supercharger intake, and so it's a restriction, and that can add 30 horsepower on its own. So yeah, that's there are other supporting mods and stuff you're meant to do as well, but yeah. Oh, it went from 130 to 220. Yeah, that's I'll be honest, mate. I'm not surprised it blew up. Recently had the family Clio tuned, went from 105 to 130. Now that is more sensible. Hang on, back in the day, the guy was polishing his Holden into a Ferrari. I think it was for Shelley's car care. You see a Ferrari front end and a station wagon rear. Nice. For Luca's Audi S1, it's clutch, drive shaft, and oil viscosity change. Interesting. What do you have to go from and to on the oil? Because I've played with my oil spec a little bit. My engine is technically, like, it depends who you ask, whatnot, but it's meant to be 5W30, but I run 5W40 because that's thicker when it's hot and provides more lubrication. Oh, there you go. I've already done the performance mod. But yeah. Technically, I kind of want to go to a 10W40 because then it's thicker even when cold. But nah. Hello, Steph the Jeff. How you doing, man? How's things? Well, the higher the number, the thicker it is. So 5W40 is sort of runnier when cold than 10W40. That's the system, as it were. What was I gonna say? Oh, I have a bit of an interesting video for you tomorrow. It's about fake products. Long story short, I bought a few things on eBay that didn't look too good to be true. They looked like reasonable purchase. And I found that both of the products that I bought were fake. And what's more annoying is that one of them was a little 10-watt solar panel, like car charger, like car trickle charger, because I don't drive my car that much. And while my battery never outright dies, it's not. I would prefer to be able to keep it charged, but it's also a pain to hang an extension cord out the window and then, you know, pop the bonnet and then plug in my 6 amp charger and then go out and check it a couple of times and then take the charger off, throw the extension cord back in, lock the car again, whatever. Car's got to sit there for a while it's charging with the bonnet half open. So I figured a little solar charger that's got a little quick disconnect and I can just run it in, have it hooked up to the battery, stick it on the windscreen when I'm ready, throw the cable back when I'm done, problem solved, right? Yeah, no, it's a fake panel. It was drawing 6 milliamps to run a little LED on the back of it, and they were fighting me so freaking hard to not refund me, basically. Luckily, eBay and PayPal, so I was like, no, and refund ensued. But there's another product that I go into much more detail on, which is even weirder, funnier. But the annoying thing about the solar panel one is that there's no way for me to report to eBay that that's a fake product. And eBay tells you on the page that it's a popular listing that has sold 4,000 of them. And that's just one of their, 50 listings for the same product. Like, they've sold, thousands of these things, and they're fake. They don't work. So yeah, it's kind of annoying. eBay cares even less than Amazon with fake products. Well, yeah, because like with Amazon, I mean, one, their whole like thing is that it's meant to be the best customer experience platform, and two, when you buy on eBay, you're very much buying, like it's very clear that you're buying from a seller on eBay. Whereas on Amazon, while they do technically list, you know, who it's sold by, whatever, especially with a lot of stuff that dispatches from Amazon, and because they have Prime and so it's all, you know, shipped, whatever, you feel like you've bought from Amazon and wherever they happen to get it from. Whereas on eBay, it's more clear that you're like buying a thing from an eBay seller, and eBay just happens to be the middleman in that arrangement. Which also explains why eBay is even less proactive on that. See, the thing with Amazon, with like the whole, as Ish says, restocking the broken or fake product for the next victim to receive, is that I've seen so many like pictures and news reports and, you know, whatever, of people who have like bought stuff from Amazon that's supposed to be new, and it's like a brick in a box instead of a graphics card, right? I apologize for the loud bikers outside, but at the same time, I've also seen pictures and videos and news reports that Amazon just like insta bins or sometimes even burns the stuff that they get returned. So like I don't understand how both of those bad things seem to keep happening. Like they immediately destroy or, you know, discard everything that was even remotely returned as broken, but at the same time they're also selling stuff that is clearly has been returned without the product inside, but with a weight in it. Essentialist, I don't remember, but yes. I got sent an item clearly returned as broken before me. Amazing. Indicated by the fact that it had broken written on it. Amazing. Essentialist, I mean, that is also perfectly possible. But yeah. Just get a GTR RB26 engine, bore out, replace the pistons, regrind the crank, replace the cams, bigger turbos, bigger air cooler, bigger piping, new computer, and voila, 890 kilowatts of the wheels. Simple. I got an audio mixer from Amazon Warehouse for 20 to 30% off, and it was new in box, so it's a big gamble. Yeah, that's the thing, innit? Well, like from Amazon Warehouse, I can understand, but when it's like you bought something that you thought was a new item, and then it wasn't, yeah. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think of that video. Next week, I'm actually making use of this. I'll be at the SMMT day next Thursday. So the event ends at 5, and it's a 2-hour drive. So I might stream, I might not. I'm not sure. But yeah. It does mean that you get some cool At the Wheel videos. Not next week, but the week after. And possibly the week after that. We'll see. But yeah. And I'm gonna go see Mercedes. And if they go, oh, it's you! And I run away. Hi, can I test the S-Class to see if you've changed it? Yeah, I won't bother going around anywhere, I'm just gonna test the brakes. Oops, forgot the 150k USD price tag that goes along with it. Nice. I'm happy to say that mine is considerably cheaper than that, yeah. I must admit, with my new latency tool, the audio circuit that's here, which is, you know, by the headphone jack and just behind it. I'm gonna see how close this focuses. You can see all the flux on there. It's kind of nasty, but so that down there, that little chip is an op amp. That is a gain resistor. That the little brown dot with some solder either side is the gain capacitor, the feedback capacitor. But I think that capacitor is currently causing me some issues. The C6 there. And this circuit was a massive pain. I cannot I cannot begin to explain how annoying audio is. Because with a microphone, you have to power it, right? You have to supply power to the microphone for it to work. And then the microphone basically acts like a capacitor that modulates that supply voltage, so you have to supply it through a resistor to be able to allow it to modulate from the source, which is already annoying. And then on top of that, if you you then have to put a capacitor in the middle of that signal so that it blocks the DC power that you've pumped into the microphone to power it, but lets through the alternating current voltage through to the amplifier circuit to then be amplified. So yeah, that's it took me 4 board revisions to get that one right. Well, technically 5 actually. I had to pick a different op amp. I had to pick a larger capacitor for some reason. And yeah, I had to. I did a circuit on my breadboard with a new op amp that I went and picked up from RS. And made it work here, as I showed on the stream the other week, last week, week before, don't remember. Yeah. Are you using the dynamic mic or a condenser? Well, it's a cheap lavalier mic that I designed this very satisfying little stand for. This is only the top part of the stand, but just a little dongle. So dynamic. Also, here's the snap. Satisfying. It does need phantom power in that sense. I'm supplying it with 2.5 volts. Yeah. Well, it's a 3.3 volt regulator on the board, and then I split that with a 10k and a 33k. So, like 2.5 volts. Give or take. And then it's a 100 nanofarad capacitor to do the isolation, and then currently the gain resistor is a 10 megohm, but I think if I take off the that smoothing capacitor, well, it's sort of a smoothing decoupling capacitor, that will be I won't need 10 megohm, because I think I was using 5.6 or something on the come on brain. breadboard. And that was working perfectly fine. And like LDAT uses a 220 kilo ohm gain resistor, so and yeah, and then the op amp, so it's an inverting input setup, an inverting amplifier setup. So the non-inverting input has a bias voltage of 1.25, or 1.5, whatever. I'm using two 10k resistors, splitting 3.3 volts in half, so whatever half of that is, 1.7. Yeah. Oh, so you're at V5 of the project now? Jeez. Yes, I am. I've been getting a new board basically every week for 5 weeks. So yeah. Whoops. Why stop at sound cards? Introducing the THR TTGB RTX Killer TTGB V34 house card. Oh, don't tempt me. No, I mean, if I was gonna make anything else, I would kind of like to make a board that can output its own display signal. These little microcontrollers can't do that. But I want to have control over when it outputs the signal, but at the same time I need it to be able to output a signal at ideally like 4K 144 hertz. Like not anything of value in that signal, I just need it to be able to have that fill rate. Which basically means I need a very expensive FPGA. Oh yeah, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just what's the word? Hypothesizing. Like, don't worry, I've watched Ben Eater's World's Worst Graphics Card video enough times to know that building your own graphics card is a very bad idea. Like, sure, it is simpler, but also, no. No, it's just not worth the development time. It's not that sort of measurement is not a big enough deal. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. Trying to find a new monitor to the VGA as well. That too. Not going to be testing much with that, are you? Also, I learned a thing this week, and I'm passing the information on to you. There has been a bug in NVIDIA's driver for like a decade now, where if you have a controller, like a Xbox controller, whatever, plugged in, like I currently don't have the dongle plugged in, but if you plug this dongle in, the controller doesn't even have to be like connected. Your displays will not go to sleep. If you have ever had the problem of your displays not listening to the whole turn off after so many, minutes or hours or whatever problem, and you have an NVIDIA graphics card, it's because you have a controller plugged in and NVIDIA refuses to fix the problem. I only learned about this week. So yeah, disconnect your controller. If you have an NVIDIA graphics card and you're having that problem. But I've had that problem for so long. And when I moved the controller next door to do to play games on my Steam Deck, on the TV, whatever, the screens would turn off again. I was like, yes, finally. I didn't know why. Yeah. No, look at this controller is off. Like, I can turn it on, you can see it's now on, it's searching for the dongle, but this was off. You just have to have the HID device present, which includes the dongle. That is enough to not make it sleep or turn the displays off. Yeah. Hey, I had it before they They went mad. I use Bluetooth now. Fair play. Fair play. Acer sent me a couple of controllers as well, actually. Thanks. Oh dear. Does not show power config request command. That's something that I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure that it's like a problem. Like, one, it's a problem with the NVIDIA driver, and two, my assumption, this is based on absolutely zero evidence, is that it's, I think the driver must have a check in it that's like, if the controller's present, that means that you're probably playing a game or whatever, and so probably don't turn the screen off. But yeah, I don't know. And yeah, it's really annoying. Yeah. Does anyone have any last minute tech questions before we disappear for the night? An Airbus guy came in to plug in a dongle, and we all went to lunch as the guy in Darmstadt did his magic. Nice. Like remote tuning, remote tech support. Nice. Oh, it's completely unimportant, but my offsite NAS is finally actually reliably working. I actually, my friend Phil, who's hosting it for me, was coming up anyway for the Dacia Duster review that you might have seen on the other channel, and it was like dropping out and like sort of soft crashing, like locking up whatever, which is really annoying. So he brought it up with him, and I swapped it out for an i5 11500 instead of the Ryzen 2700 or whatever it was in there, just because reliability, basically. I think I used the B series board, like B460 or 560, whatever platform it was, and it's been rock solid now that I've fixed the WireGuard configuration thing. And so yeah, it's that's working. I've been backing up data every night. All going well. Should do a video on the ultimate Steam Deck portable setup controller and mini USB monitor. Wow, you sound like a lot of the emails that I get. There was a guy who was like, I get a lot of weird like business emails, like, you know, I'm on LinkedIn or whatever, and people find my LinkedIn email, and then I get a lot of, you know, you're a business owner and therefore we're gonna market to you, emails, and a lot of them are like, you know, we've got this new service, AI, bloody bloody blah, crypto, bloody bloody blah, marketing analysis, bloody bloody blah. There's the one guy who's saying, are you hiring new clients? I don't hire clients. And two, are you interested in my secret formula, legitimately, that will bring you £378,000 more revenue per year? I'm like, well, I currently don't make £374,000 worth of revenue, so sure, if you could provide me that, why not? But it also seems that you fundamentally misunderstand my business, so no. Oh, no, I know that it's time, but I'm going to keep talking. Right. One of the other emails that I got was about this like AI Amazon Seller Central, Vendor Central, like management platform thing. And the lady Julia sent me a couple of emails, you know, touting the benefits of their Seller Central whatever AI platform, and then in like the second or third email that I got sent, the first line of the email after, you know, hi, it was either like hi there or hi Andrew, whatever, was like Marseille hires has zero staff internally to manage their Amazon seller central account. Now, that was the sentence itself. There was no, like, oh, this company has this and that's why it's beneficial. No, it was just Marseille, as in the town in France, has this, whatever. And then, so we're quite confused at what Marseille is besides a town in France. And there's like Marseille Inc., which, I shit you not, is a scam company who makes gaming enhancer cables or adapters. So it's like an HDMI thing that is basically meant to like ray trace and anti-alias and upscale the image like from your games console or whatever, and it's like $100. And I really, really, really want to like buy one and then just show you how utterly ridiculous and fake it is. But at the same time, I really can't spend $100 on a scam company that is just gonna like steal all my money. Do they make M cable? That sounds right. I can't remember the exact thing. The M cable is real, but like, okay, if it is doing any processing, fine, but at the same time, all that's doing is going to add latency to the, to the thing, which, funnily enough, is what I'm building a thing to test. So maybe I will buy one once this is done, and I can use that as a bit of a marketing advantage for it. Oh god. That's it actually together, by the way, with that's where the little 2-pin input, and then there'll be a little lens in here because there's an LED under there and shine out nicely. Anyway, right, I should probably go because my voice is already failing, and I'm quite ill. But yeah, I hope everybody had a good laugh and a good week, yeah, I hope everyone stays safe. Like I said, I'm going to SMMT Day next Thursday, so I may or may not stream. I'll let you know. But otherwise, yeah, stay safe. Have a good one. Links in the description if you want to support my idiocy. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for a video, Monday for a video, and definitely next Friday for a video. Watch it, please.